is KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank.
All right, hello and welcome into another edition of Threema. I am John Kurtz, joined by Derek Young and Cole Manbeck. We are recording our football preview here as we sit live at Colbert Hills. We've been here for the Players Wildcat NIL golf tournament that's going on to raise some money for K-State student athletes, which has been awesome, and hopefully you guys have been enjoying that content as well. We'll have some more coming out from that, some interviews that we recorded out here today. It has been a very good time. But as always, please make sure to enjoy our friends at Holiday Distillery. In fact, they have been out here at Colbert Hills today. Why don't you raise your glasses?
I'm drinking a mixture that Wyatt at Holiday Distillery made me earlier. I think it's a mule of some sort, but it tastes delicious. Yeah, I don't know the formal name, but it's amazing.
Okay. DY just going straight Ben Holiday Bottled and Bond Bourbon over there.
Good work.
So 360 Vodka or Ben Holiday Bottled and Bond Bourbon, two great choices from our friends at Holiday Distillery. Great K-State folks who support us, so please get out and support them. Make sure you're stocked up for back-to-back home games, people. You have plenty of tailgating to do over the next couple of weeks, and we are rolling our eyes because this bee is back at us again. It has been terrorizing us here. We did one take of the pod that we had to restart because we were all fleeing this bee. So if any of us has a crazy reaction at some point during this podcast, just know it is because of a bee chasing after us. So hopefully we'll be okay.
I'm not scared of the bee. I'm going to brave it out now. And
the blooper reel that may be available.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a little scared of the bee. This show will be a little bit different. We don't have like the full formatted typical football preview that we do. We're gonna wing it a little bit more than we normally would, but hopefully that works out pretty well. DY, you were at the press conference on Tuesday. Biggest takeaways from what Chris Kleiman had to say outside of, I guess it sounds like they feel like Will Lee may actually play.
He's not on the depth chart, so I was under the assumption no chance. And then Tuesday here, he may practice Wednesday. So they're at least giving him a fighting chance to be available on Saturday when they play TCU. I think it's a big deal. Think about how the Horned Frogs recruit. They always have talent at the skill position. So you want to be good at corner. You want to be good, on those parts of your defense. Now, they have a quarterback that we probably don't know a whole lot about. Seen a small sample size with Josh Hoover. And by the way, another backup quarterback that Kansas State faces. They're like the TCU of last year a little bit. Just see backup QB after backup QB.
Josh Hoover, to me, seems like he's better than I've ever seen Chandler Morris look.
Maybe at some point Sunday nights we'll realize that maybe Chandler Morris shouldn't be the guy.
Yeah, maybe so.
Chandler Morris has been okay this year.
Yeah,
he's fine.
He's fine, but the alternative each time seems better than
5.5 yards per carry, 250 yards on the ground, 1,500 yards passing, 12 touchdowns, 5 interceptions.
I love that. Yeah, have that memorized. I'm actually impressed. All I'm saying was TCU has had better than fine behind Chandler Morris each time. It seems like.
Well, yeah, it wouldn't be surprising at all if Sonny Dykes, Skip lucked into another quarterback, a better quarterback again. That would be typical Sonny Dykes, who had a fluke season last year and is now back to reality of, he'll be a 7-8 win coach at TCU.
But maybe Kansas State started the wrong quarterback each year, too.
I was just going to say, yes, as much as I made fun of it and made that joke. DY, I feel like you might need to pull the mic a little closer.
Yeah, just a little closer, DY.
Yeah.
I thought you were hitting my leg because I thought the bee was on my leg.
Oh.
And I thought that was a light, little love tap to kill the bee, but nope.
There we go.
It's the left tap.
So much better. No, look.
It was nice.
There's certainly a discussion to be had about quarterbacks at K-State, too. And I'm sure that is something that, look, we can get into it right now because I do know that was something addressed at the press conference or on the depth chart with Will Howard and Avery Johnson. Chris Kleiman didn't tip his hand at all at the press conference. They're going to be coordinator pressers later today as we record this here on Thursday. But I don't know. How are you feeling about this right now? I went on with the 365 Sports guys yesterday, and they were asking me about the quarterback thing, and I was kind of like, look, I think Avery Johnson probably should start. That's what I would do. That's what I would prefer. But I am not entirely convinced that will be the case because we know the staff has a loyalty to their players. I think sometimes to a fault. Sometimes it works out very well. But it makes me wonder, how serious they would be about going with Avery, like going full send on Avery being the quarterback.
Typically, that loyalty is rewarded. So I don't think it's as much of a flaw as other people think that it is.
I think it lost in the Texas game last year. I will still say that.
Yeah, but that was Cole and I talked about that a few weeks ago, or actually a few minutes ago when you weren't around. Talked behind your back how a couple weeks before that you were also eviscerated Will Howard at Big 12.
Yes, but I turned quickly.
Yes, but sometimes it's not great. Look, they're usually a week late. I say usually, this hasn't happened a whole lot. So I tend to think it'll look like a lot like Texas Tech. You give Will Howard the start, you give him one drive, two drives, whatever it may be, and if it's not touchdown, then maybe you're going back to Avery Johnson.
If it is touchdown, does Will just stay on the field?
Yeah,
like I said, like UCF.
It'd be like the UCF game.
Yeah, no, why would you take? See, this is where the problem of a 2 QB system can go. I don't think you can marry yourself to who gets what drive if you're going to do this. It's a little bit like how they've successfully done the running back situation between DJ Giddens and Trayshawn Ward. When DJ Giddens was going, now Ward was unavailable. They just let DJ Giddens go. Last week, Trayshawn Ward was going, and they let DJ on the bench. So if Will goes touchdown, it's not like, we have to go Avery Johnson third drive. I don't think that's the case. I don't think it can.
It's interesting because Kleiman brought that up, right? The running back position is kind of getting overshadowed. The DJ wasn't on the field really. It's not that much different. It's just the quarterback position gets such a point of emphasis, but DJ essentially got put on the bench for much of the second half of that game, and it was Trayshawn Ward because he was the hot hand, and it was the same thing with Avery.
Did DJ even get a carry in the second half?
I think he might have had one or two. He had that false start, and then that also might have played a part too.
Yeah.
Not ideal. That was the second time he's done that this year.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Out of the backfield, huh? Well, I still don't even know, was K-State going to run a play there? Or were they just going hard count, going to call a timeout or take a delay a game?
Well, the fact that he false started, I hope they were running a play.
Yeah, well, Will went hard count at first, so I just didn't know. I don't know.
If he goes hard count and you jump when there's not a play called.
I got to tell you, DY, that play frustrated me because I thought Avery should have been on the field for that play. Like, why wouldn't you go 4th and 1 with your running quarterback? Because they didn't want to sub. They didn't want Tech to be able to rotate. I didn't.
There's a subbing element, and I think we overlook that at times. Also, you become a little predictable, I think. I think Avery comes out, run. Will comes out. Maybe there's an element of pass.
Again, man, think about a situation like that against TCU or an upcoming opponent. You bring Avery in on like a 4th and 1 pop pass over the middle of the tight end. Think how wide open that would be.
Well, no, I know. I agree. And that's my argument with Missouri playing when he run all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, it could have been something as simple as later in the game. They had a 3rd and 1 where they throw it down the line to Phillip Brooks. Everybody sucked in on Avery and then pop it out there, and he very easily gets the first down. I think, and that would be my other question, assuming that we are going to see Avery play in this game. By the way, is the consensus you think that Will Howard will start?
That's my gut. Yours?
Man, that's a tough call. I really go back and forth on this. If Will starts, I still think Avery will play a considerable amount, even if the offense is successful. I still think they're gonna rotate him in.
Yeah, I just don't think you can bring him in when Will touchdown. I don't think he goes touchdown.
I mean, I'm not going to complain if he does.
No,
I mean that's the dilemma. And then it's
not a dilemma. Success is not a dilemma. You'd rather have success.
Yeah,
it's probably the wrong word.
I mean, look,
quarterback dilemma.
My gut tells me probably Will Howard starts.
I think Will Howard starts, and it looks a lot like Texas Tech. A couple of tries, maybe he gets a couple points on the board. Here comes Avery.
Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna make my prediction that Avery starts.
Okay,
I will say this, and I've been just as guilty of saying Chris Kleiman. When I spoke with Andy Staples on the On3 show or whatever, I called Chris Kleiman conservative when it comes to his approach to these types of situations, which is probably fair. But we have to remember, this is the same guy that fired his best friend, overhauled his entire offensive system, overhauled his entire defensive system so that he could win a Big 12 championship. People say, oh, he's afraid to do the things to win championships. I've seen that on our message board. That couldn't be farther from the truth when it comes to Chris Kleiman. So I will defend him on that.
It's just slower, I think, than people would like.
In season, maybe. But that happened one time. Like you said, the Will Howard, Etri and Martinez decision against Texas.
Well, I think, you said a week late on the quarterback thing. last year. I think some people would have said he was a year late on Courtney Messingham, but either way, look, I am with you. He does deserve credit because he did evolve, and he has evolved a lot since he got here, and you do have to give him credit for that, for sure. But typically a little slower moving with this. The wild card, I think, is just that we've heard from the jump with Avery, like they know that he's really special. They think that he's really special, so that gives me a little more thought, perhaps, that they would go with Avery here, that he is maybe a special case for them as much as they love Will and have a lot of emotional investment in him. They realize exactly what they have in Avery.
Could be, and as much as the coaching staff loves Will, I think this locker room loves Will even more.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to love Will. I mean, he's a special dude. But man, I tell you what. I mean, you guys heard the Avery Johnson pod on 3 months.
I did, Cole. I listened to it.
It took me. You didn't listen to it? I can't even get you to listen when I record with Avery?
No, I've talked to you before.
Oh, yeah. So it's like,
that's my thing. That's no offense. That's why I don't listen to a lot of your pods with the players. It's like I've already talked to these.
That's nice that DY at least sent the text that I heard a lot of positive feedback from other people. It was like, I don't have any because I truthfully didn't actually listen to it. John, it takes me recording with Avery for him to actually tune in and listen to the pod.
I come out for the stars, baby.
Yeah, he shows up.
Is that your first one that you listened
to? Player interview this year? No, I listened to one other one. I don't.
Well, you were on with me with Uso.
Oh yeah, that was it.
Oh my gosh,
yeah.
You guys.
This is why we're a good trio. We just spoke from each other.
Yeah. Well, anyway,
cool.
to not move away from the point, my point was, like, you hear how mature he was?
Like, oh my God, dude, he sounded like a third-year vet in the NFL. Like, I mean,
I will say this, and sorry for not listening, but and I've spoken to Avery this year. He was the same way 2 years ago in high school.
Yeah, I mean, you sent me that text describing Avery right after I got done recording, and it was so incredibly accurate of just about how mature and measured he is, how he goes about things, and he really was. I mean, I felt like I was talking to a grown adult. I mean,
you said he intimidated you.
Well, I asked him a dumb question at one point. I
didn't listen. No.
Well, I texted you what I asked him. I was like, remind me, were you a K-State fan growing up? And he was like, yeah. I was like, who was your favorite quarterback? And he does this to me. He's like, really?
He didn't say Grant Gregory?
Carson Kaufman.
No, he said Daniel Sams.
Oh, of course he did. Yeah, oh man, no.
He looked at me. He's like,
Daniel
really?
Sams was out here tweeting about it.
We need him not to be doing that. All right, so
come on, man.
No. Same shade. Jake Waters.
Be still my heart. Daniel Sams tweeting about Avery Johnson. I mean, whew, boy. All right, tell you what, we have against Daniel Sams, man. Come on.
I've just moved on from it. So.
It was on the boards the other day. Shout out to KSO. They had a nice little Daniel Sams discussion there, and some people were correctly bringing up how accurate his passing numbers are, which I'm not even kidding. He completed like 70% of his passes at K-State.
What did he do at McNeese?
I think it was like 49 or something. But what can you do when the infrastructure around you is awful? I mean, it was fine at K-State. He completes 70% of his passes.
I don't mean to slander Daniel.
Hey, how many of which of the two Sams or Waters has an all Big 12 quarterback mark on his resume? Because it's one of the two.
Daniel Sams got all Big 12.
He did. He was honorable mention all Big 12 in 2013 because Art Briles voted for him after he rushed for almost 200 yards against him. And Jake Waters never actually got any honorable mention all conference acclaim because there were some really good quarterbacks. I think it was like Bryce Petty and who else was in the league in 14.
It
wasn't Trevor Knight. I don't know. Anyway,
boy, we're going deep down the path here. It was really Art Briles. He acknowledged he voted for him?
Everybody speculated it was Art Briles because Sams had that. He rushed for $199 against Baylor and almost beat him the week after or the week before. He should have won at Oklahoma State.
This is a weird podcast.
I'm sorry. Yeah, we're talking TCU, right? Yeah. I'm sorry. Hey, when we get off the rails, the B is back. Oh, my God, the B is back. When we get off the rails, things tend to work well for Kansas State.
Okay, let me get us back on track because this is where I was going before we got sidetracked with the Will portion of that and who was going to start. If and when Avery is out there, is this the week do we finally see them cut it a little bit more loose with the offense with him? I feel like you're going to hit that point. I think this would be the week where you would naturally hit that point where you would likely have to, whether or not you really want to when you go into the game.
I think they'll do it when it is necessary to win, right? And I don't know if it'll be necessary to beat TCU.
Well, it's interesting.
This is where we need Cole. What do you think of TCU's defense here, and how equipped will they be to stop it?
Did you do your research?
I did. I've got a whole thing of notes right here,
Knock us out, baby.
Tons of research. By the way, did you guys know that TCU's leading tackler, his name is Nnamdi Obiazer, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Does that name sound familiar, John?
I thought you were going with Nnamdi Asomugha.
Chidi's older brother.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if
He's their leading tackler at TCU.
They can't tackle each other because they both played.
Yeah, that's a great analysis right there. That's what we bring you on for.
By recruiting.
Yeah, well, that too, for sure. Look, TCU, the thing I struggle with TCU is, so first of all, this is the first game this year they're an underdog.
First of all, they lost at home to West Virginia.
Yeah, they're 4-3.
and lost at home to Colorado.
Yeah, that actually...
He's also maybe...
According to the advanced metrics, Colorado is actually the worst team that TCU has played out of everybody, outside of Nichols, FCS team. Okay. But you look at TCU's schedule, they were favored in all 7 games to start the year, which is why we thought they may be coming to Manhattan as an overrated top 10, top 15 team in the country. They lost 3 games as favorites. They're an underdog in this game. It's the first time they're an underdog. But when you look at their schedule, like, it is not a list of teams that you would expect. So, like, when you look at their numbers, you're like, I mean, how much do you gauge or take away from that? Like, Colorado to start the season, they played Iowa State on the road, West Virginia, Houston, BYU, SMU. Like, you look at the offenses of this defense has played. Iowa State's 90th in the SP plus offensively. West Virginia's 53rd in the SP plus. BYU 62nd. Colorado's 38th. SMU's 47th. Houston's 26th. I mean, they've faced a couple decent offenses.
Houston's 26th.
I don't understand that one necessarily.
Donovan Smith, baby.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like,
they did get blown out by Iowa State. Like, I know it was a 13-point, but it felt bigger than it.
Yeah. So TCU's defense has held their last 6 opponents to 5.6 yards per play or less. That's actually a really good number. 5.1 yards per play allowed against 6 FBS opponents. That ranks 39th nationally. It's 4th in the Big 12. 1.94 points per drive. That ranks 43rd nationally. They held their first 3 opponents to under 2 yards per carry on average. The next 3 games, they allowed 574 yards rushing on 119 carries, nearly 5 yards per carry. Then last week, they held BYU to under 3 yards per rush. They've been okay against the run on the year. They're 3.6 yards per carry. Tech was 3.5 yards per carry. I have seen people say on the boards and elsewhere, DY, that, I think the Avery Johnson thing, it was just going up against a horrible Texas Tech defense, a horrible run defense. And that's really not true.
Oh, I was seeing that, like, Big 12 wide, kind of Big 12 Twitter. I think it was on 365 in their comment section. And I was like, people are slow to come around, but, like, Tech has a pretty good defense.
That's a lazy take to me.
Yeah.
I don't know. You guys, I mean, because they were 3.5 yards per carry going into that game. I talked about it on the preview podcast. Oregon's lowest rushing yards per carry is 5.1 on the season. That was against Washington. They had 3.6 against Texas Tech.
There was a discussion point in the media where I was told, multiple times, it's like Texas Tech, it's on the 30-yard touchdown run. What are you doing? I was like, they had 9 in the box. What do you mean, what are you doing? They're like, why wouldn't you leave a deep safety back to protect against the long run? I was like,
yeah.
I was like, what are we doing here? They had 9 in the box in 3rd and 10 and still couldn't touch Avery Johnson.
And it was really well blocked also. I mean, let's give some credit there. But yeah, I mean, a lot of teams wouldn't expect you to really run on 3rd and 10 either there.
No, but that's how predictable it kind of was. 3rd and 10, heavy box, still run.
Yeah, but you are setting something up with that QB sweep as well, where you roll Avery out on like a sweep like that and then pop that tight end over on the backside and throw it. Think of the defense going to suck up. There are still things that I am anxious to see them do offensively with Avery, that where they fake the run or they look like they sell a formation that's a run with him and they hit him with a big play.
Yeah, maybe you got to be careful of a lead man downfield.
Well, everybody's just got to do their jobs up front. Offensive line's starting to play a little better.
Well,
but you have to block for a run. You can end up more than 3 yards downfield easy. It's hard to sell it when you can't go more than 3 yards downfield.
Well, I'm saying
that's why that's why you see less of those plays, because it's easy to get an illegal man downfield.
But all this stuff is great. How about just let Avery drop back and throw the freaking ball? Like, so I don't understand why this has to be.
I mean, it's still threw
tricky. I understand.
Still threw 9 times in 35 plays.
Yeah, that's like almost 25%.
But they did. Did you think they were letting it? So they let him throw 3 times on that last drive. put away the game. Do you feel like that was them maybe letting him loose a little bit more to like say, hey, going forward, we got to show?
Yeah, but as they do it, they have to win.
Yeah.
They would have kicked themselves if they didn't run more the way he was so successful.
So my only thing is, so like this is a big recruiting weekend too, right? There's a lot of recruits coming into Manhattan, some, potential flips that you've written about DY on KSO.
Don't let recruiting dictate what you do within a game.
Well, so I just worry, like we talked about, they need to elevate the wide receiver position, right? And recruiting there. And like if you continue to, like we know Avery can pass, right? But if you bring a recruit in or they just see like you're running it 80% of the time, it's hard to sell to wide receivers, even though like next year you're like, yeah, we're going to let him throw a ton next year. Well, like if you only let him throw 10, 12 times in a game, like how are they going to sell that?
I mean, between the two, they threw over 20 times. I think we're probably jumping to that conclusion maybe a little too quick.
Okay.
Is my thing, because he's only played extended action once. The other time was against SEMO.
Yeah, but I take it back to just a conservative approach overall with him, which includes not playing.
I don't think it's a conservative approach. I think it's the winning approach.
It didn't win in Stillwater when they didn't put him on the damn field.
Well, yeah,
I'm saying
when he's been on the field, I think that.
Okay, but I think their entire approach with it is just being a little too hesitant to put him into positions that they think could make him unsuccessful, and I think they are underestimating the poise that he has with some of these things. And same with Mizzou. I would take it back to Mizzou, not letting him throw the ball or be on the field more against Mizzou. I think they have been...
For me, it was even less about throwing against Missouri. Just let him stay on the field on 3rd and short.
Yeah. They've just been, I think, a little too conservative with it. I can understand. I'm cutting them slack for it because it's his true freshman year, right? Like, I get why, and I get what they're trying to do, but I think at this point, we've seen enough to be like, hey, go give him a shot.
If you're arguing that he should have played against Oklahoma State, I would agree.
Yep.
If you're arguing, like, are they putting the trading wheels on him when it comes to the passing game, I don't think we have enough of a sample size.
DY, did you hear what Avery said to me about eagerness to show off his...
Hey, he clearly wants to throw.
Yeah.
I know you listened.
Because I listened to it.
Yeah.
And I heard him say that. He said the rap on me is that I'm just a runner.
Yeah, you could tell, like, I sensed, like, did you sense kind of annoyed him a little bit that, like, people think he's just a running quarterback right now? But he wasn't criticizing, like, Colin Klein. He went to saying, like, he has full faith in what the coaches are doing and the play calling, and he's just here to do his job. But I could see, like, he knows he can spin it. You heard Trayshawn Ward after the game talk about, like, oh, this dude, he can throw.
That was a great
my
quote.
question.
So, all right. Credit to DY for the question. Proper attribution there.
Hang a banner, DY.
Yeah.
Really good question. You said really good quote. Really good question.
Oh, great question. So
yeah, well, I mean, look, I don't know that we've really solved much as it equates to Avery Johnson, but I certainly would like to see them do more with him. I guess I'll put it this way: yes, do what you got to do to win, but you also have to have some level of thinking more long term with it too. And I always have to be the guy to come in and be like injury, but you do have to think about that as well. You can't be carrying it 20 times a game the rest of the year.
Group chats, it's not sustainable to do that. Well, from an injury standpoint, and teams are going to make him throw. So I'm with you. Quick hitter, stealing your feature here. Who starts?
Oh, I said Will. I think Will.
You guys both went Will, and I'm going to go with Avery.
Okay.
I think it's going to be Avery.
Okay.
And here's where it's going to be a very loud eruption if it's Avery. A lot of excitement and.
Yeah, but think about. Here's my problem. If it's not Will, if it is Avery, at some point you bring Will in. I don't think the route is going to like that. I think it's easier for Will to start than come off the bench because I think you get the moans. Like, I don't want that for Will.
Yeah, I don't,
the crowd reaction.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be just like some minor grumbling, literally. He wouldn't probably hear much of it.
I think most people will be pretty chill because the stadium that's not Twitter. Yeah. Like, if it were 50,000 K-State Twitter folks, then...
Yeah, but I just harken back to where the stadium wasn't even full and when Avery Johnson came up first time.
I do worry, like, you start Avery, he struggles a little bit, and then you got to pull him. Like, does his confidence get shaken some?
No.
Yeah, you're right. Because, again, I get back to how mature that guy is. I mean, really just an impressive...
Yeah, no, see, I don't worry about any of that with that. Like, I just don't... He seems as composed
You're not going to
possibly ask for.
Yeah.
Going to shake him.
Yeah.
It's interesting. A loaded true freshman quarterback class, whether that would be class of 2023 for recruiting. And
Rashada
Avery was in the top 10, obviously, but there was a lot of good quarterbacks.
Not playing. There's
right? Only 3 playing. One is Dante Moore, who's kind of struggling.
Yeah, he is.
And 2 is Jaden Rashada, who's probably been underrated. I think
Isn't he hurt now? They're down to like their third string guy.
Yeah, but he was pretty good when he was.
Yeah, he started the year at quarterback at
Tennessee. Probably fans, I think they want Nico to play, but anyway.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because
Avery's one of the few.
No, it's interesting you bring that up because I was looking the other day. I was like, is he frustrated? He's not getting to play as much. And then I'm like, J.J. Cole, Iowa State, not playing at all. Jackson Arnold stuck behind Dylan Gabriel, who's playing well. So obviously, Arch Manning can't get on the field because Quinn Ewers at Texas. So like you look at all these other Nico you just mentioned, and Dante Moore hasn't played well at UCLA. I mean, I guess he's been okay as a freshman, but
a lot of interceptions.
Yeah. So there's a lot of those top 10 quarterbacks that were in that recruiting class that haven't seen the field. I still would argue, like, I think Avery might have been underrated because I just feel like that dude, just watching him and what a player he can be. So just got to get him more weapons, got to get him some more skill talent. I think Jace Brown, he talked about Jace Brown to your question after the game about how he's his best friend.
You know what? Smart guy. You got this star-studded true freshman quarterback program. Going to be his best friend. You're going to get so many balls, man.
Yeah. And he's they're roommates.
Yeah.
He told me on the podcast. So.
If there's someone you should be if you're a true freshman receiver, if there's someone you should be best friends with, Avery Johnson's a good place to start.
It wasn't just Jace Brown with that catch late in the game. He was in a decent amount of snaps.
Blocked his ass off.
Yeah, he blocked well, and he's not the biggest wide receiver, and he's a true freshman. And he had been, out sick with something like a couple weeks before. So he's just now getting back into swinging things. But Avery talked about him, and he talked about Trey Spivey. Obviously, we've heard about Trey before, but he mentioned Trey just didn't have the opportunity because he arrived in June. He didn't have as much time to get ingrained into the offense.
Playbook thing for him.
Yeah, he's just playing a little bit of catch-up. Do you hear anything about Wesley Watson or Andre Davis, DY? The other 2 freshman wide receivers redshirting?
Well, Andre wasn't in uniform the last one.
So he's banged up.
So,
presumably.
Yeah, I have not heard much on that front. Look, we've talked a lot about the K-State offense, TCU defense. Let's get to the other side of the ball after we step aside and thank our friends at Home Field Apparel. If you can see, here, I'll bring my knees down because I'm cold, but thank goodness for my home field jacket, my home field bomber jacket, or else I would be in a lot of trouble. DY's got the Home Field K-State shirt with the old school Cats logo. If you go to homefieldapparel.com, you can use promo code 3MAW23 to get 15% off your first order. So make sure and hit up our friends at Home Field Apparel.
Just like we have a college game day set up here.
Kind of is. It's pretty nice. This is where we really need your helmet tossing.
Oh, I didn't bring them.
Come back out.
We can make some picks if you want.
That's too bad. Well, I was gonna get there. I was gonna get there. I will ask if you have.
I have an idea though. If you bring your helmets next time, we can put one on a tee, and we'll just drill it with the golf club. I got my driver.
You know what the people really need? My lead pipe block of the week.
Yeah. Well, I don't have one, but I will see if you guys do.
Guys, if you want to go broke later, tune in.
Yeah, but
actually, it was my first losing week in totality.
But please save a little money for Home Field Apparel. HomeFieldApparel.com. They've got 100 plus schools, including obviously K-State. Tons of great stuff there. Get the bomber jacket. Highly recommend. 3MAW23 will get you 15% off. We're back in just a moment.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network. Make sure you download our new app. Find it on the App Store or Google Play. Just search KC Sports Network.
Okay, other side of the ball. TCU offense, I guess we did touch on Chandler Morris. He's out for a month, so we're going to see Josh Hoover play quarterback, through 400-plus yards, 4 touchdowns, 2 picks in demolishing BYU last week. K-State defense seems in an okay spot. Fair to say.
Stop giving up big plays.
But they're solid.
They're getting too hard of a rap. I think you would agree.
Yeah, I mean, I think their defense has been okay, honestly. At the end of the day, when you look at the final numbers of the last couple of weeks,
it always feels frustrating in the game, and at the end of the game, you look,
Texas Tech had, and again, I know circumstances, you are facing third-string quarterback for the second half of that game, right?
It was funny. I wanted to point this out. You can say recruited Jake Strong, didn't offer him.
That's what I was telling John.
Which I think he was kind of frustrated about because they're like, we're going to wait on Avery. Well, fine, I'm going to commit to Texas Tech. Well,
he gets beat by Avery Johnson.
Well, he found out why they waited on Avery Johnson. But then after the game, I think Chris Kleiman, he asked us, he's like, was that kid a true freshman? I'm like, I don't know if this is a subtle jab. Yeah, you recruited.
I remember his dad posting on KSO during his recruitment, John called me after the Tech game, and I was like, Jake Strong's that kid that they recruited pretty hard, but they didn't officially offer because they were slow playing him for Avery. And remember, there were a lot of fans getting frustrated, like, oh, Avery hasn't committed. They got to offer this Strong kid. Tech came in. Other teams, I think they made the right decision. I'm not giving up on Jake Strong as a quarterback necessarily. I think he'll be fine.
I'm not giving up on Avery.
That's probably a wise decision. But yeah, like the game against Tech, 21 points on 12 drives. Oklahoma State was 22 points on 11 drives with really 19 because field goal was a gimme given to them by the offense. So
then what was 24 on 10 drives? That was
UCF. I mean, and UCF's offense somehow still grades out top 25 in the SP Plus.
That's because Timmy McClain, baby.
Yeah, they're 21st offensively in the SP Plus rankings.
They're so explosive still because of Timmy McClain. They're also so pull your hair out and scream obscenities because of Timmy McClain.
But John Rice Plumlee's back this week, so.
Oh, but he was back for KU, and you saw how that.
Well, they've had a bye, so I think he's now back.
Did you guys know that? I didn't mean to divert us back to the K-State offense. Did you know in the SP Plus, K-State's offense is ranked 12th nationally?
Got to be more explosive, but got a lot going for him.
I mean, really, it was the Oklahoma State game that was
us included. So I'm not going to. All the fans suck. They don't. Us included. A little bit of overreaction to one game.
Yeah, because Missouri.
But it was a bad game.
Yeah,
I tell you what, I am so sick though. There's a faction of a couple Oklahoma State fans that have been so offended that I continue to say that was the worst game K-State has played in a long time. I got it again for saying that on 365 yesterday. I was like,
it's the worst they'll play this year.
It is. I don't care what, like Oklahoma State may turn their season around and go 10-2.
Yeah, good for them.
That was still the worst effort that I've seen K-State put out there.
They're not going to get 10-2.
Man,
they can go 8-4.
I where their schedule's weak. I do look forward to watching them play Oklahoma and Stillwater. See just how
Pat
look. Well, yeah, they probably won't win that game.
They might lose at West Virginia.
But yeah, of course. Mike Gundy and bet.
Yeah. All right. So TCU offense against Kansas State's defense. Josh Hoover, 38 of 59 passing for 447 yards last week against BYU. What?
That a fluke?
Well, I mean, he's a redshirt freshman.
I don't remember him as a recruit.
It's because he was the 42nd ranked quarterback in the On3 consensus in the 2022 recruiting class. He wasn't like a high.
He was an Indiana commit.
Yeah, I mean, his profile doesn't really show other offers. They got him to decommit from Indiana.
Michael Penix came from Indiana.
Sonny Dykes said, Michael Penix did come from Indiana. It must suck for them to watch what he's doing as they scuffle to another 2 or 3 win season. I'm trying to find the quote that I had pulled for Sonny Dykes.
A bet that I did hit last week, sorry for going off on a tangent here, it's cold time, was Indiana over 5.5 points against Michigan. Their team total was 5.5.
Well, that's the toughest team that Michigan's beaten this year. So
yeah. So Josh Hoover played high school football in Texas, concluded his high school career with nearly 10,000 yards passing and 108 touchdowns. Sonny Dykes said he wasn't surprised by his game against BYU because he said he's the most prepared player on the team.
If he wasn't surprised by it, then why didn't he play him?
Well, he said he's the most prepared player on the team. He's got kind of a 3/4 arm release. He's 6'1", 196 pounds. Here's the difference with him, though, and Chandler Morris. So Hoover didn't even run the ball really in high school. He had 5 rushing touchdowns. He didn't really use his legs. He's a pocket passer.
Yeah.
Chandler Morris was running for about 6 yards a carry and over 250 yards. It's more of a drop-back traditional game.
And Kendall Briles is a kind of a running quarterback guy. So this is different for him.
Yeah.
Offense functioned better with him than it has.
I know, but Kendall Briles has always needed the QB run game for that offense to go. So you wonder, after that 1 week, do you start to hit a little bit?
Yeah, so he averaged 7.6 yards per pass against BYU, but for TCU as a team, the previous high for passing attempts in a game this year was 42 against Colorado. He threw it 59 times, which kind of shows you the game plan with him on the field. Most yards passing in a game for TCU this year before that game, 314. Again, 447 against BYU. And again, BYU, despite John inaccurately portraying them as a good team all year, is a really bad football team.
Kendall Briles and that Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin tired a lot of those guys. You know, remember Lane Kiffin was the same guy. Might have been with Jeff Leppi. Who was the Ole Miss OC under Lane Kiffin? That was from the Kendall Briles coach tree. Was it Kendall Briles?
Well, wasn't that Wasn't it Levy?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
the same tree.
Yeah.
Those guys, I think, are
Yeah,
related.
they're all
I
connected.
think they're brother-in-law.
Yeah.
But that's the same one that ran Matt Corral 40 times once.
Yeah. Look, I'm looking at the TCU offensive numbers here that I had pulled. Like, they're 26th in the country at 5 yards per carry. They've been effective running the ball. 63rd in yards per pass attempt, 71st at 11.8 yards per completion, 4.6% sack rate. That's 36th nationally in the country in terms of sack rate allowed. Now, Amani Bailey, their running back, he's number 7 in the country. Yeah, he's number 7 in the country with 751 rushing yards.
And Dre Miller, who?
Yeah. What I would say is interesting about that, though, is like K-State has already played 2 top 5 running backs in rushing yards. Who leads the country in rushing right now? You guys know?
Texas guy.
No.
Oh, like in terms of a back, not a team?
Yeah. Well, an individual. K-State's played him.
Is it Ollie Gordon?
No.
Troy guy?
Yeah. Kamani Vidal has 951 yards rushing.
By the way, Ollie Gordon's been good.
Yeah, he's been great. So 951 yards rushing to lead the country right now, and that's with him only having like 80 against K-State. And really, it was one big run against Kansas State. They bottled him up, and then Taj Brooks is top 5 in the country in rushing yards.
Wait, I thought Kansas State did the run.
Well, see, there's this journalist, college football savant down in Texas, Ian Snoid or something. What was going to go like
He's
that?
still taking shots at Ian Boyd.
I teed him up.
He said K-State. Yeah, he teed it up for it. Anyways, running back Amani Bailey, number 7 in the country with 750 rushing yards on the season. Bailey has over 1,700 yards rushing in his career, 6.1 yards per carry in his career. Started his career actually at Louisiana. TCU's turned it over 6 times in the last 2 games. A lot of interceptions thrown. Hoover threw 2 picks against BYU. They've got 12 turnovers on the season. I think they're 97th in the country in giveaways per game, so they haven't particularly taken care of the football. I think turnovers will be a big part of this game to watch, too. Can K-State have another 2 or 3 turnover-type force game?
Gonna need some pass rush. Now, I know they got after Baron Morton, obviously, but Kleinerman was dialing up a lot of heat, it felt like last week.
Well, would you dial
I
up?
thought it was from the front most of the time.
They did bring...
They brought some blitzes, man.
Well,
the first half.
why wouldn't you bring blitzes again when they're down their starting quarterback and not a redshirt freshman? Because who do they have behind him, right? And, he's not that mobile of a guy by all accounts.
I know, you tell us, who do they have behind them?
I don't know. Like, if I'm saying you got a redshirt freshman, like, who would you have behind him? Right?
You signed a quarterback last year.
They probably, look, I will say they probably got some sort of transfer because TCU's got 1 million transfers on the offensive side of the football. It is insane.
It's easy to capitalize on the transfer market if you're TCU or SMU because you have a lot of kids from Dallas that were well thought of as recruits. They go somewhere for 1 or 2 years. It doesn't work out. You go home. Hey, go back home.
Yeah. Well, I just think their receivers, J.P. Richardson, Oklahoma State wide receiver transfer, leading receiver, 400 yards on the season.
So like Sam Richardson in Iowa State.
What?
I don't know. I just got the sign that we got to wrap it up, though. So if you have a note here that you want to get to left about TCU,
I don't. We'll just they got some talented guys at wide receiver. Jared Wiley at tight end's a guy I'd watch out for. He's had over 100 yards in 2 games against Kansas State last year on 9 receptions. So I'd watch out for him. They got speed. They got transfers from Alabama. They got transfers from LSU. They got transfers from Minnesota, UCF, Oklahoma at wide receiver. So and then Savion Williams is a 6'5", 225-pound horse at wide receiver as well.
Hopefully
have Will Lee back. Yeah. So, anyways, DY, you picking North Carolina AT&T this week as your lock of the week or something like that?
Wake Forest.
Okay.
It's Pittsburgh.
Pitt coming off the high last week.
Give me Wake Forest.
What is the number?
Well, I think it was +1. I put it at money line, but it was +1.
Oh, Wake wasn't even favored?
No.
Okay, yeah, I like that. Cole?
Hadn't looked yet.
Yeah, I've got nothing. I've got to be honest, because I was our original plan was that I was not going to be on this midweek show, so I didn't have an outline put together. My apologies.
Yeah, but I can quickly give you one.
I'm gonna say K-State wins 30-23. I'll take the Cats by a touchdown. That's been my line throughout this week. I've seen the number at like 6.5. I'm going K-State barely covering.
It's a 1-possession game. What do you think, Cole?
Well, all the metrics have it between a 6-7 point game. TCU's number 25 and Brian Freeman's F+ rankings. K-State's number 20. And in the SP+, TCU's number 27. K-State's number 21. So it's a relatively evenly matched game. I forgot to mention TCU special teams rank 105th in the country according to the SP Plus.
John's the special team snob.
Yeah, I just thought he would. I thought he would appreciate that TCU has not been good on special teams. I think Kansas State comes out and I think they win this game rather handily. Actually, I think it's. I'm going to take K-State 35, TCU 20.
31-21.
We're not even kicking a field goal. 35-20. We're going to be chucking beer bottles in Fort Worth in anger. So
you're going to Fort Worth.
No, I'm saying they're going to be chucking beer bottles in Fort Worth out of anger and disgust. I mean, the 20 of them that remain TCU football.
I was going to say, whoever's
in the ship,
whoever's still watching.
Yeah,
whoever's still watching at this point this year. All right. Well, thank you to everybody out here at Colbert Hills and Wildcat NIL for hanging out with us today, giving us a great setup, making it a little more scenic for those of you that are watching along on YouTube. This time around, it's been a lot of fun. Thank you to our friends at Holiday Distillery. Go get your Ben Holiday bottled and bond bourbon and your 360 vodka to make sure you're stocked up for the tailgate this Saturday and next Saturday when Houston comes to town, 11 a.m., by the way. So some Bloody Marys or something. You can get all of that dialed up and ready to go. And go get your home field apparel. Get this sweet bomber jacket that I'm rocking right now, and you can look great out at your tailgate and at the stadium. For Tucker Franklin, behind the scenes, Derek Young, Cole Manbeck, I'm John Kurtz. Thank you for listening. Dream on.